So I was talking to about everybody knows PPA. Okay, now we said what you need body every day. Yeah, we just can't. I guess that's what I really can't say no problems. Please around the call. What do you think how to do? I need to speak out here. I need to have this conversation. Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. It's awesome. It was like they chose to talk to you, so you're a whole lot of fun. Right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning again, and welcome to the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum. Yeah. Once again, to Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum. I am Laura Clary, one of the facilitators for the Tuesday Morning Forum, as well as Mr. Steve Johnson, who is he's responsible for our live streaming and Facebook Live for the Tuesday Forum. We also have Mr. Thomas Moore, who is our musician. Our other facilitators are Mary Johnson, Jackie Edward Walton, Winston Robinson, Paulina Ivory Canty. And our timekeeper is Miss Natalie McElrath. Natalie.
Yes, and each person, when you ask a question, you get 30 seconds to ask the question. And the presenters will get a minute and a half to answer.
We also have.
When I hold this up, you need to stop talking.
We also have Miss Aretha Sherrill, who is one of our facilitators, and she's going to lead us in a word of prayer.
Good morning. Please join me as we pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we know that you made today. For that, we are thankful. We're glad that we were in it. Father, remember the task force members. Bless their families. Remember those in the Holy Land, especially the children. Help the families know that you are in our strength and you are our salvation. Father, bless this nation. Bless our state. Bless our county, our city, our neighborhoods. Let us say together, amen.
Thank you, Sarita. At this time, we would like to ask for a word of silence for all our officers that we lost yesterday. If you will indulge with me. Amen. Now we'd like to ask you to silence your phones as well. Do we have any first-time visitors here, with the exception of maybe our speakers, for the very first time? If you will, just give us your name and your affiliation. If you're affiliated with the business or retired or what have you.
Hey, good morning. My name is Kendall Vitar, and I work for the North Carolina Department of Justice, but I'm based here in Charlotte. And a pleasure to be with y'all.
Good morning. My name is Mary Ellen Frost. I am retired, recently new to Charlotte, and I live at Aldersgate, where my good friend Jen Balder brought me to be with you today.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brittany Hillman, and I work for Bank of America, and I'm glad to be with you all here today.
Hold on, let me say this point of privilege. This is a special one right here. She works in community engagement with Bank of America, and she gets it. She knows the importance of intersectionality with a corporate community and a residential community where there are layers of nuance that should be understood. Thank you so much for all you no. Mr. Cockrell, you got a good one over here. Thank you for coming. Good to see you.
I'm Jimmy Buxton, president of Paper Branch NAACP.
Okay, thank you all for being here. We here and facilitators for Sarah and here at Sarah Steve's Tuesday Floor, we meet here almost every Tuesday of the year. So we invite you to come back. If you're a local, you're here, or if you're visiting with us here in Charlotte, we'd like for you to come and be with us on Tuesday morning from 8:30 until 3. Every once in a while, we stay over a little longer than 10 o'clock if we have something interesting going on. Just like to share with you as well, we have a coffee fund, and feel free to make a contribution. We're not asking, but if you'd like to make a contribution to the coffee fund, we do have a cup back there. I'd like to introduce our speakers this morning. And we knew that once they were invited and it was announced that we would have a nice crowd, which we do have. And we also just be reminded that we do live streaming as well as we are sure that we get other people outside that are listening to us and reviewing what is being said and keeping account of what is being said as we extend invitations out to everyone to be a part of the Tuesday Forum. We do have a few rules for those that are here for the first time. As you've heard from Natalie, we facilitate, and what we do is we allow our speakers to speak. And once they speak, if you have a question, we ask you to raise your hand, and whoever raised their hand first will get the first question. And then we try to be as fair as we possibly can to those that are asking the question. So we ask you to ask your question in 30 seconds or less. We don't need commentary, and we don't debate it here, and we try to be as respectful as we possibly can. And to our speakers, we have what we call a full house this morning, and thank you for coming. But people will leave and they will come respectfully. So all the seats may be full before you leave. You may have some people that might just leave before we end our presentation, before you end your presentation this morning. Now, the two gentlemen that we have with us this morning, we have Mr. Keith Cockrell from Bank of America, and we have Mr. Malcolm Coley, who is with Ernst & Young. And they are part of a group in Charlotte that's an executive leadership group, and they have a partnership with Charlotte Mecklenburg School. So what we'd like to ask you all to do is, this is why they are here this morning, is to share their roles and how they are working with Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools. And we'd like for you to keep your questions around that subject. If you need to speak with them or talk with them, you can talk with them after the Tuesday Forum or make an appointment with them. So keep your question geared towards that role that they are playing or they are here for to discuss this morning. And without any further ado, I guess I'll start with Mr. Cockerell first. Keith, okay, if you would just talk to us a little bit, and for you, how much time are we gonna give them to just share?
How much time do they need?
How much time do you need to? How much time should we give them, Jack?
As much time for them to give us the information.
Yeah.
Okay. 3 minutes, that's not
Oh,
long.
15 minutes.
At least 15 minutes. Now, one thing, yes, Connie.
He's not just with Bank of America. This young man is the president of Bank of America, Charlotte. The other young man is the managing partner for Ernst & Young.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. And I'm pretty sure they appreciate that too. But we have some elected officials here today too, and we're happy about that. But I'd like to also say that while she has formally introduced them in their titles, we still want you to speak with your 30-second question, and we will allow them at least a minute or two to give an answer. And once you ask the question, we would ask you to direct it to both of them, or you want to be specific about which one you would like to answer the question, direct it to that individual as well. And before we turn it over to you completely, we just like to say that we have people that are visiting with us from other cities and towns in North Carolina. They were with us on yesterday, and they would like to duplicate or come up with this same concept of the Sarah Streets and Tuesday Forum, which was formerly the Tuesday Morning Breakfast Forum across the state of North Carolina. And we are asking for those that can stay over, the regulars, and you know who you are, to stay over after 10 o'clock. So they can ask you some questions and get your input about, the service institutes before, so it's on you now.
Good morning. I am Keith Cochran. It's a pleasure to be with you for this Tuesday morning forum with my brother Malcolm. Both he and I are products from public education, so education was life-changing for us, and we're blessed here in this community that we have so many people like you, really across Charlotte, that recognize the importance of education. We have a tremendous benefit of being here in Charlotte, where there's tremendous growth and opportunity. We have great weather, we have great people. We're here in the southeast corridor that is seeing tremendous growth, and that's wonderful. But we also recognize that growth presents different types of opportunities or challenges. And what I'm pleased about is that the Charlotte business community really does recognize that for us to continue to foster the type of growth and prosperity that we want for all here in this community, that one of the areas that we have to focus on is education, ensuring that we have the skills, that our young people have the skills for today as well as tomorrow. And so for many of us in the Charlotte business community, we've been very, very actively engaged with CMS. And I'd be the first to acknowledge that because we're talking about our youth, many of us have very passionate points of views about their education. We see it playing out nationally as well as locally. But one of the things I'm really, really pleased about from the business community perspective is that we didn't just complain about it. We made a decision that we want to be actively engaged to provide support as we possibly could. Now, the truth of the matter is that Malcolm nor I are educators. It's been a long time since I've been in the classroom. And so I don't pretend to believe that we're the best entity to provide, the necessary support, especially coming out of a COVID crisis. But what we could do, we could listen, and we recognize that CMS is a business. It's a very, very large organization and for many of us on the business side, I'm a bank as an example. And one thing I know we do a very, very strong job of is protect physical assets. So it's a sad commentary that, there are people that will go into a school and, with guns, shoot up facilities, but providing that level of support to say, hey, and after we had the terrible shooting down in Texas, to be in contact with CMS and say, have we done a review? Do we feel comfortable with where we are to ensure? Now, you may recall that CMS was getting ready for commencement and graduation, but we stopped, paused while they were getting ready for commencement and graduation to recognize that the unimaginable, the unthinkable does happen, that people will go into an elementary school. So CMS felt very strongly that for the high schools, they were very secure, but we hadn't done as much detailed work in the elementary schools. And Parkland, I think it was an elementary school. And so we stopped, dropped and rolled, got some people out there to really do an assessment and evaluation, which eventually led to, some recommendations from a funding perspective to solidify our schools. Communication, process management, project management. Those are disciplines that really across industry, and we can provide those resources. And so one of the things that we have in place with CMS today with the business community is I think we have about 15 what we call executives in residence. These are employees that work with our respective organizations that go to work each and every day at CMS, providing their level of expertise in strategic planning, project management, process management, finance, HR, communications. Because those are skills, these are professions that we have, and we're complementing the resources that CMS has. So I'll give you an example. I've got an HR professional who actually was a retiree, and so she retired from Bank of America due to care for an elder parent. Unfortunately, she lost her father, And she was ready to re-engage, but she wasn't really sure that she wanted to come back into the workforce full-time, work 40 hours a week. But she knew that she had more to give. And so she was a perfect example. She had a lot of HR experience. The new superintendent was looking for some individuals to support her from an HR perspective, to do an analysis regarding what else can we do to not only recruit, but also retain our teachers. And so it was a match made in heaven. She wanted to provide some level of support, re-engage. She wasn't really sure that she wanted to work full time, but she was committed and she's an HR professional. One of the things that we've done specifically at Bank of America with CMS in partnership with Atrium, coming out of COVID, listening to some of our teachers and principals, many of us know that several years ago, this community, very philanthropic, we made a commitment to try something different, go into one of our most troubled neighborhoods on the west side. And if we eliminated some of the barriers like transportation, housing, early childhood development, and a strong school, could we produce a different outcome? That we could have strong students that led to the Renaissance West community being built and schooled. It was a great concept. We raised a lot of money, but we were failing in the execution. It's a K-8 school, STEAM focused, but I think we had run through maybe 2 or 3 principals. We were on a second provider in daycare. So in partnership with the county, with CMS, a healthcare provider. I'm not a healthcare provider, I'm a professional. We made a decision that, hey, it was the principal who came to us and said, I was armed for battle, to be quite honest with you, because I didn't like the educational outcomes. And he said, my teachers can't teach it if the children aren't in the classroom. So that led to a discussion, well, why aren't they in the classroom? What can we do to ensure that this chronic absenteeism problem that we're seeing at that school, let's try something different. And so it turned out, in the essence of time, we made a decision to put a clinic in the school. So we now know that almost 50% of the time that a child tells their teacher they're not feeling well, they go to the nurse. Now we have a nationwide nursing shortage, and Charlotte's no exception to that. So we had to establish a partnership with the county who provides the nurses in school. It's not a funding issue. The county provides a teacher funding for teaching every CMS school here and have been doing it for years. It's a supply issue. We don't have enough nurses to fill the spots. So we said, let's see if we can really make a difference. We fenced in this community. Let's provide all the things that we think are necessary to get the educational outcomes that we need. So we said, we got 50 schools that we want to focus on. Can we get a nurse in those 50 schools every other day? Because children don't get sick every other day. We need a nurse every day in these schools. Let's test it. And if we have a nurse, now Atrium can remote in a doctor. So Johnny is not just seeing a nurse. Johnny's actually seeing a doctor. And that's what's sustainable for us. And now we know 50% of the time we can return Johnny back to the classroom safely. But even in those cases where Johnny has to be removed because he's contagious, he has seen a doctor. If he doesn't have a primary care physician, a referral is made to the parents. And a prescription is written there. So now the mother or father can come, pick up the child, get the prescription on the way home. So we're not only returning 50% of them back to the classroom, but those that have to be removed, we're shortening the time that they're absent from school because they're receiving medicine and care. And then the final thing that I'll just mention very quickly, in this partnership with Atrium, our big dream was, how do we create job opportunities and skill? So it's very easy. We know that we have shortages in healthcare. So with Atrium, we said, I'll provide the funding with the big goal that we want to see more of our students graduate with their first level certification and graduation. So our fundamental purpose was that we're not just going to focus on will they graduate, they'll get their diploma with their first CNA, their certified nursing assistant. And that's a big objective, that we're going to see more graduates with this certification. And then they can go into nursing school, a four-year nursing school, or they go on to Central Piedmont to continue their career path. What we wanted was entryways into careers, not low-paying entry-level jobs. We went even a step further. Gene Woods, CEO at Atrium or Advocate Health. So we set up a pyramid. Basically said that, hey, those students who get their CNA and wish to go on in a career in healthcare, like nursing, if life happens, such as they have a child, or they don't have the money to go into a four-year school, we'll hire them 20 hours a week to work at Atrium if they're committed to go to Central Piedmont for the other 20 hours to continue their education in healthcare. Not only will we do that, but since we know that in some cases they will have a dependent child, we'll give them full healthcare benefits. So those are the pathways that we're trying to create. Now, our opportunity is that we have to communicate. We know we have data. I know the success rate that we're seeing with these students at this point in time. Now, I'll be the first to admit that we got variability between schools in terms of it's not the field of dreams. You can't build a clinic and then everybody comes. We know in our community and in the Hispanic community, there can be some lack of trust in healthcare. So we still need parental approval to see Johnny, right? And for some of our neighbors, recent neighbors here, they may have come across the border and they're a little wary about, hey, what are you going to do with this information? And so there's a lot of communication that we have to do with our immigrant population to let them know that, look, we're here to serve young people. We're not here to report you to the federal government, and regardless of your legal status and citizenship, we're trying to educate the youth that are here. Okay.
Good morning, thanks, Steve. Like Keith, I went to public schools and I grew up in public housing. And I'm a big fan of the public school system. And for me, my journey goes back to, as I mentioned, growing up in public schools, leaving North Carolina, going to Atlanta as part of my professional career. And while in Atlanta, as a member of the 100 Black Men of Atlanta, we formed the first all-male academy in conjunction with a public school system called Best Academy, Business, Entrepreneur, STEM, and Technology. And one of the things we saw that was extremely successful was that on any given day, you would see a number of us in the school system mentoring these young men. And it could be, God bless him, Hank Aaron, Andy Young, and a bunch of other business leaders. Norman Jones, who was here, used to work for the bank and was president of Bank of America in Atlanta. We spent a lot of time in that public school system. And my kids grew up in the public school system. I refused to let them go to private school. I think the education that they receive in public school systems, it not only taught them the subject matter expert, but it taught them how to deal with a variety of different people. And so then that brought me here to Charlotte when the firm transferred me here. And, all those kids in CMS, the way that we view them, they're our kids. And we want them to be successful. Knowledge is power, education is power. And once we teach these kids how to think and educate them, you can never take that away. And that's one thing that we have to do with these kids. So we're all in to ensure that these kids get an opportunity. We know we got a lot of work to do, but we are fully committed. One of the things that I've done since being here was form a partnership with Olympic High School. We're in our 10th cohort, and I have taken about 30 kids a year from their junior and senior year, and I paired them up with young professionals in my firm. And we mentor these young men and women for 2 years, and then we have 100% graduation rate, 100% go off to college. And then not only do we mentor them while they're in their junior and senior in high school, we mentor them throughout their collegiate careers. And we have graduation for this cohort next month. I'll invite any of you who wants to come to come. I know Doug, you've been there, and it's a beautiful sight. We bring their parents. The kids get up and they talk about, what's their plans off to college. We give them scholarships. We get every last one of them a new computer. Don't tell them, they don't know that yet. We surprise them when they get there. And we give them a stipend every year, every semester while they're in college for hopefully only 4 years. So some take 5, but that's okay. Sometimes it takes some a little bit longer, but we mentor them because it can't stop just in 11th and 12th grade. We mentor them throughout their college. And then we will have a couple of young men and women who have graduated from college come up and speak. But again, that's, touching one person at a time, one smile at a time to make a difference. But we got to continue to cascade that because every kid deserves an opportunity. There should not be an environment where each kid does not get an opportunity to succeed. And they need to get the resources that they need to be successful, and we need to give it to them. It shouldn't be based on zip codes or economic status, on what your education is like. Every kid deserves an equitable education. And so, again, we're very passionate about making sure that all these kids get an equitable opportunity as well as economic mobility. And again, it shouldn't be driven by your zip code or part of the community you live in. Every kid needs to get an opportunity to be successful.
Okay. Don't tell anyone secrets because we are live streaming.
Thank you.
Well, the greatest gift we can give is to share our successes with other communities. And let us be the beacon for other cities to want to emulate who we are and make sure all of our kids are successful. I think that's the greatest gift we can give to other parts of the country.
Okay, our first question comes from Tommy, and this is tradition. You always have to say first question,
Yeah, my question is,
Yes.
my question is, like, I'm very interested in Black people. I'm very interested in Black people as a whole. I've studied a little bit of history. Like, we own more on the segregation than we do on the integration. And I wanna know, how can we adjust that? Like, because when I was a kid, my father died when I was 6. And when I was a kid, I worked for a Black man who owned 20 acres of land below your Homewood Cemetery, Mr. Bannon. Now you don't see that. You don't see the landowner, you don't see, I don't see it. And I wanna know, what can we do like America? One thing I learned about what America was, a capitalist society. I learned that in high school, junior high school. And we don't have the capital, we don't own the land. Like, we still own land and stuff. So what can we do about that?
Tommy, we need your question.
You just asked.
What
You
you
just said.
Well, there's a couple of things, if I can offer some thoughts. When I was going through school, I was blessed. I was raised by my grandparents, and academic excellence wasn't an option. It was despite the fact that they did not have a formal education, they demanded great grades, not good grades. It was not A, honor roll. It was, A honor roll. And I was fortunate enough where my grandmother made it very, very clear to me that my job was to get good grades and get educated. So despite not having a lot of money, she refused to allow me to work until I actually graduated from high school and worked that summer before I went off to college. Now, I had no idea how poor we really were because I was always the best dressed kid in school. if she had worked 2 jobs, 3 jobs, whatever the case may be, whatever my interests were. We were never received government assistance. I was never on meal plan. We never had our lights turned off. I didn't know how poor we were until I started applying to college and, saw the, tax return. Because I couldn't afford to pay, at that time, it was $20 or $25 per college application. And I finally had a guidance counselor who said, you should apply for financial aid. So for me, I was fortunate enough to have parents that, although they didn't experience, they knew that education was a ticket out. Now, I was good in math and science. I was really good in math. And so I had the benefit of a guidance counselor who said, you should consider engineering. I think I could spell engineering at that time, but I didn't know what engineering was. And what I would offer is that we are relevant. If you want more Black entrepreneurs, young people need to see Black entrepreneurs. I didn't know Black entrepreneurs when I was young, so therefore I thought the only path for me was through working for corporate America. You need to see more Black landowners. The facts are that we have more Black wealth today than we've ever had. We just have to give young people more access to that and education about what the paths are versus owning guns and shooting.
Let me remind you, please, we like to give, we're gonna need commentary. It's a reminder, I did say that earlier. And we'd like for you to ask a question, one question, in 30 seconds or less. And we'd like to ask you all to, and designate the person that you want to answer the question on both of them. This is a reminder, and we're asking you to give a minute, and please pay attention to Natalie, our timekeeper.
They get 2 minutes to answer.
Okay, and she will let them know that she's right here.
We did,
So-
we did it.
I learned quickly.
Well,
I've written mine down.
So,
oh my.
And the question should relate to the topic.
The NFL draft just ended, wherein the weakest teams draft first, intended to get the best pick of the litter among college eligible players with the intent and purpose to strengthen those teams. I'm asking for your personal thought on the concept of placing school systems' best teachers in the poor underachieving schools to help improve student achievement.
I'll start. In concept, it sounds good. But if I use the Renaissance Plus example, the principal and the teachers that were first put at Renaissance Plus weren't a good match for the community. It wasn't a good match for them. It was a good match for the students. And so we didn't get the desired outcome. They didn't stay. So in addition to having credentials and results, you need people who are committed and passionate to work in these schools that are more troubled. Because now, our principal at Renaissance West was recognized as Principal of the Year last year. So we know you can turn around a school in a short period of time. Now, how do you do it? Not because Atrium has a clinic or Bank of America provided volunteers. He turned it around because of his leadership. He hired the staff. He got 100% of that staff to work overtime every day to close that educational gap because of their absenteeism. We'll be hosting them next week for Teacher Appreciation Week because we got a leader there now that's passionate about not just education, these young people and some of the challenges that they're dealing with on a daily basis. So I don't think you can just say, hey, force a great teacher to work in an underperforming school. If that great teacher doesn't have the ability to really appreciate and understand the community that they're dealing with or live in that community, I think it could be troublesome.
And if I could just add, I totally agree with Keith. I think it has to be three things. It has to be personal, passionate, or it serves as a purpose for that teacher. Because if they have those three things, then they're gonna be committed. And then as a community, we also have to commit to those teachers as well. And we have to incentivize them. And so whether there's rent subsidies that we can provide to teachers, I'll tell you, our first responders, our teachers, I mean, they are not compensated the way that they should be compensated. So we as a community need to find ways to encourage these teachers that are committed, they're personal, and passionate, and they want to do it because they have a purpose to be involved in these schools.
Thank you so much for coming. My question has to do with, in August of 2022, I think was when the presentation was made to the forum about the partnership. At that time, we were told it would be about a year, possibly 18 months. You're now going into almost 2 years. Can you share with us why the extension, though I think you've already mentioned some things, but can you share with us why the extension of that partnership with CMS from the executive leadership team?
I give you my perspective. We saw the early success. We selected some great leaders who made the decision to take an off-ramp for their careers, who were committed and passionate. And in most cases, they wanted to stay engaged. They could see the impact that they were having, the partnership that we had developed with CMS. I mean, I have to give the superintendent a ton of credit, because without Dr. Hill embracing and saying, hey, I'm going to take help here, it would have never been this successful. And so for all of those individuals that have made a decision that, hey, now let's be honest, the businesses are supporting it, right? Because we didn't dock their pay or reduce their vacation or force them to take personal time. But those are resources that are not working for me and Malcolm, you know, and they're reporting to work each and every day at CMS. And in addition, we wanted to ensure that we thought that the board had hired a great superintendent. And we believe in a business environment that you have to build a culture and you have to have some level of consistency to truly achieve excellence. And so we wanted to complement her compensation to encourage her to stay through pay. So we could, if she achieves the goals that the board establishes, that hopefully we won't run into a problem where she won't be recruited away and just make more money. So we want to provide additional incentive to ensure that we could have some continuity of leadership, because that's one of the things that we lack.
Good morning, Keith and Malcolm, both of my stars. Appreciate your support. Sounds like organizational architecture has been your initial focus in terms of back office stuff. In 2017, this community embraced something called college and career readiness. That is a national standard. It is a standard accepted by the Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Education. The Leandro Supreme Court indicated the same thing in terms of college and career. It appears that the board's goals and superintendent's backing away from that commitment. What is the business commitment now in terms of, is it still college and career readiness or just proficiency to get kids out of school? Because the data does not support it. And what I mean by the data, they're losing market share. They're about 70% of the public school age kids are there, and that's horrible. So is the commitment not only to organizational architecture, but in terms of producing competent and capable employees to support the growing business community that's occurring, because the facts on the ground seems to be moving away from what your grandmama always was talking about.
It's a great point, and I'll start by offering this. First and foremost, what's going to be sustainable from a business perspective? I mean, let's be honest, we are for-profit businesses. We're not nonprofits. And so we need to see results at some point in time. So the results for us, when you make these investments, for it to truly be sustainable, is that your educational outcomes, that I'm going to be able to hire, folks. And times are different. Now, we recognize in the business community, in some jobs and professions, you just have to have a commitment to learning. You can come on board. You don't have to have most of our jobs at Bank of America no longer require a 4-year bachelor's degree for you to be hired at Bank of America. Because we know that we can teach you, but you got to have a commitment to education. Now, that being said, our superintendent has 3 E's. Education, employed, or enlisted. I think that's fine, but I treat these children just like mine. We have wars going all over the world. We have been overrepresented as a community in the military. So I personally don't like the focus on or position of enlistment. Our focus is on enrollment and employment. And so to answer your question directly, is absolutely my expectation is that there are going to be more students who graduate who are job ready, career ready, or they're going to go on to a 4-year or 2-year school. And we're doing and be successful. And so all the work that we're doing is really to support those pathways. Whether we have, even for those that fell out of the system, got their GED or diploma, we have the Year Up program. We brought the Year Up program to the Charlotte community, which said that, look, if you have a high school degree, you could go on and you have an interest in these 4 tracks, project management as an example, or programming. Maybe you have no experience, but if you go to CP and then working with a nonprofit, we can smooth out the edges or the things that you have to deal with. You don't have transportation, or they don't have professional skills, or maybe they need daycare. Well, Year Up helps them with that. Central Piedmont will give them the basics. Now they come work for us. So they work on that for 6 months. Then we try them on for 6 months, hence the Year Up. And the sole objective that we have is that in a year, you're basically taking a high school graduate and they got a full-time job with full benefits with Bank of America and a career path in a field that we know. So to answer the question, we were all about career readiness. And in some cases, that's going to be a 4-year pathway or 2-year pathway or alternatives such as Year Up that even though they didn't go to formal college, they get an opportunity to still be employed by us.
Good morning, gentlemen. My question, kind of piggyback off the information you just gave us. I had a 15-year career in marketing, and I wanted to know about messaging. I just had an event also last weekend where kids just simply want to know how to get money. While we have these programs in tech, do they understand the messaging? Is that resonating with them that this will show you how to get money? Also, given the industry of Charlotte, corporate pathways, careers, you could graduate with an IT certification and walk into a $100,000 job. Is there any intentionality of implementing all of Salesforce, project management, all of those things in some of our schools?
We're trying, and I would say that we're not failing, but there's just so much more work that we need to do. So as an example, many of us sponsor, how many of you see Who's Who in Black Charlotte? Well, we brought that publication back to Charlotte several years ago, not because we needed another cocktail book or we wanted to just recognize Miss Ivory. We made the decision to bring that publication back if they committed that they would provide at least a book in every school. And what were we really trying to do there? We're trying to say that, hey, 2-way commitment. If Miss Ivory, I've used her as an example because I know her level of commitment, if Miss Ivory is going to be in the book, then when she has to give us at least 1 hour in the school. So when she goes to a school, she can say, I want you to turn to page 26. And that's my profile. That we have living legends here. It's just not Black history. We have people in this community locally who are making history, who have done amazing things. And let me tell you my story. I had, whatever obstacles, barriers that I had to overcome. But education, because of my commitment, put me on a path to where I am today. We're working on something right now with PBS here across the state. The working concept is, I'm a PBS kid. How many of you, for those of you who are about my age, watch PBS growing up? Well, the concept that we're working on is to run a campaign from an absenteeism perspective to help parents understand and students understand the importance of being in the classroom. And so it's having Marvin Ellison, who's now the CEO of Lowe's, to say that I'm a PBS kid. Let me tell you a little bit about my story, and education changed my life. So what we need to do is reach more students, and we have to do it through all media, including social media. So we want to use television, we want to use Facebook, whatever the case may be. So parents truly understand the importance of their students, the way we teach, and the way that students must learn, they need to be in the classroom. And so this concept of attendance is a problem, and we've got to address it. And for all of us who have been on the other side, who know that it isn't all that hard. You can study, you can learn. You just have to have a commitment to it. And we need more of us to be present, proximate in these neighborhoods, in these schools, to help these young people understand there are other alternatives that can lead to a six-figure job versus I just want to be an influencer or I want fast money.
And if I could just add on to your question, I think making money is a part of it, but keeping it is a bigger part of it. A dollar stays in the Black community 6 hours.
Thank you.
Do you hear me? 6 hours. In other communities, 21 and 28 days. But in our community, we're the greatest consumer of products. And we typically don't consume amongst ourselves. And those are the things that we gotta teach these kids. Not only do you make the money, but how do you recirculate that money in your own community? I'm not saying you don't spend it in other communities, but you gotta think about your own communities. And so it's gonna be extremely important that we not only educate these kids, because education and economics go together. You cannot separate the two. And so we have to teach these kids that we have to own our own land. We have to own our own stores, et cetera. And we have to hold people accountable. And don't want to call people out, but I know Commissioner Griffin is doing a great job. Chiquitha and Dr. Hill are doing a great job of, they have big budgets and making sure that those economics are diverse throughout the community. Malcolm Graham at the city council, and holding the community accountable. Because we pay those taxes too. And so why should 90% goes to a certain community or more and not go to our community when we have to, help pay, for those taxes? So, again, not only do we need to teach these kids about making money, but how do they preserve money?
That was powerful. My name is Yvette Townsend-Ankle. I'm your Board of County Commissioner-elect. And thank you both for being here. I'm also a former CMS teacher, former Director of Foundation Relations at Johnson C. Smith. And here's my question to both of you on the board, because it's kind of volatile. Can you or would you be open to assisting another entity to launch a campaign, kind of like the ones we did for the school bonds? A campaign for the complete execution of Leander decision by the North Carolina Supreme Court. That would politically mean that we would support any candidate on either side of the aisle who would pledge to execute Leander once in the North Carolina General Assembly.
I can't comment. I'm not educated enough on the Leander decision. So if you'll spend a minute, can they spend a minute just to explain it?
Sure.
Actually, I would like for Commissioner Griffin to.
Well, let the expert explain it. Go ahead, Mr. Expert.
Take that back to the seat. Anyway, North Carolina's been struggling about how to deal with education. What is a public education? And so for several decades, we've been trying to figure that out. The low-income counties in North Carolina, Hope County and others, filed a lawsuit. Charlotte-Mecklenburg joined. They filed a lawsuit in '94. Charlotte-Mecklenburg joined in '95. The sued the state of North Carolina. Burley Mitchell wrote that decision that you're looking at right now. Those are the elements of a sound basic education. That was also defined as college ready and career ready in North Carolina. As I said, an education had to be qualitative as well as quantitative. And so that lawsuit, the first page that you're looking at was in 2001, and they did not tell the state of North Carolina how much money to spend. They just said every student had a constitutional right to those 4 bullets that you're looking at, and left it up to the state. Subsequent to that, the trial court said, here are the things that needed to remediate to get to that point. The trial courts ruled that in some year that $700 million was missing because when the recession occurred in 2008, the legislature took $1 billion out of the education budget and never put it back. So right now there's a gap, about $700 million that they want the state to put into Leandro to provide that type of outcome for all the kids here in North Carolina. It's a lawsuit that's been around since 1994. It's not going to go away, but I'll just say this is a practical matter. 38 lawsuits around the country out of the 50 states have ruled in favor of kids, but there's not one state in the union that's fully funded education. So maybe North Carolina could be the first state to do that. But that is the results. What you're reading, it's a constitutional right for every child in North Carolina.
I guess my short.
We got everybody, but I just.
We'll make sure Steve gets to, can we get that on the website?
I guess my immediate response would be, we do have an education subcommittee within the Charlotte Executive Leadership Council. I think this is a great place for us to, place this and let them opine and see if it's something that this committee can support one.
Yeah, and I would agree, and I didn't get too much into the details. There was a group of us from across the state. We met last night, and the number one issue is education, public education. And these are business leaders throughout the state of some of the largest corporations. And we believe that when we as a business community come together, we can make things happen. We came together across the state, HB2, and got that done. And I would say as a business group, it's something we would take back, not only just in Mecklenburg, but we're going to have to build a coalition throughout the state, because we know that our education system's under attack. And we know some of the things that are happening from in the classroom. Books have been banned, history's trying to be lost, D&I is under attack. That it's going to take a consolidated effort around the state, and the business community is going to have a major role.
Appreciate it.
Great.
Good morning. I was wondering just about alternative routes, because all I ever hear for the youth is a career path or a job. What can we do to bridge that divide? Because it's a lot of youth that they don't want to go particularly that route, but it's no support for them. It's nothing else to help them with what they want to do, either it be creatively or just entrepreneurship. It's nothing there to really support that. It's usually the 10 basic job careers or jobs that's been for the last 30, 40 years. And I feel like we need to listen more to the youth and we work together with them instead of always dictate what is good for them?
Well, a couple of things. We live in a culture where, and I've got youth that are in athletics, and athletics was a pathway for me as well. But the arts in this community is something that we do fund very, very aggressively. And so we've had some challenges in funding arts in general, but we recognize the importance, not only in terms of the vitality of our lifestyle and just the enjoyment of our community, but also providing career options and introducing the youth to that who have an interest in arts. So Jazz Arts, as an example, is one of the organizations that we at Bank of America have really tried to pour into and support and expose. This Attendance Plus program that I talked about, which is an added incentive on top of what the schools provide. CMS, individual schools, all of us. Malcolm has his schools that he supports. Coca-Cola has their schools. Instead of providing salty snacks as an incentive or gift for a kid or a young person doing something well, we came together and said, hey, we all have assets. Tickets to sporting venues, the Hornets games, the Panther games. But in addition, we all have tickets to dance, opera, concerts. And so now, if students are below the threshold that's established by CMS in terms of their attendance or their absenteeism, then they and a parent get a night out. And that's another example of what we're trying to say that, look, you may never come to Bank of America, and that's okay. But we just want you to be a contributing member of society in your chosen field. And the arts are one of the areas that are there. Now, for those that do not go the traditional route, and Malcolm selected, or I selected 4 years of college education, I think the options have never been this wide. Whether you decide to go to a 2-year school and a career pathway, let's be candid. We believe that healthcare is a tremendous opportunity for us in our community. And we need more of our youth to understand that there will be jobs in healthcare. We have shortages now, and they are good paying careers. And so it's up to us to get that message out to let them know that there are these career options, whether they decide to go to a 4-year school or a 2-year school. And then there are programs like Gear Up that without any formal secondary education, they can still provide a career path.
Yeah, in addition, I mean, there's other opportunities, and I agree, 4-year college is not for everybody, or 2-year college is not for everybody, but there are also other types of trades, whether it's plumbing. We have a program where we work with young people that want to learn how to code. We bring them in, we have a cohort that learn how to code, we teach them 900 hours of coding, and then we agree to give them a job, making $65,000 a year. Duke Energy, they'll look for linemen. Women. In a couple of years, they make $100,000 a year. In the construction business, I mean, Charlotte is such a booming community. There's individuals that can come right out of high school straight into the construction business. And so there is a lot of different opportunities. And maybe they decide to go and further their education down the road, because I would say that they need to make sure that when they do go off to college, they're prepared. And so, but again, everybody isn't want to go to college, but there are opportunities where they can have a comfortable living by doing other things.
And I would just add, it's about skills. Whether you're working for, a financial institution or accounting firm, if you have skills, then you're employable. If you, Lowe's has a retail academy, as an example. So there are all types of ways to get to career sustaining positions. I know we're focused on education right now, but there are also other options that are available that really are career enhancing, and they're either provided through some of the major corporations here or through some of the nonprofits like, United Way agencies, including Goodwill, that provide job training, skill training, that provides career paths.
And if I could, I know probably over time. And one of the things I know Keith and I know as we do this is that these kids need to see us. We need to spend time with these kids, because I'm a firm believer what you see is what you will be. And we have to be in front of these kids. And I know, like Bank of America, we host these young men and women into our office so they can see different things and they spend time with us. And like Keith said, when we use our assets to reward these kids, when they come into one of our suites at a Hornets game, we're there. It's not we give you tickets, you go, but we spend time with these young men and women so and have these conversations. Like my graduation of Olympia High School in a few weeks, I will be there. I will have others in my office be there to talk to these kids because they need role models and mentors, and they need to be able to see people because that's one way we as a race, we learn by observation. We can see things and we can grasp those things a lot quicker. And so I would say we need to spend a lot more time with these young men and women and show them that there is a better way, whether that's 4-year, 2-year trade or whatnot. But they need to be able to see, let them know that we care about them, we want them to be successful, and we're going to be there through their journey.
I would, two things. How do you relate to JCSU? And I know because they're talking about having more education classes. And how about the Observer, the Post, the other news media, so that we could see something other than the last shooting? Because there's a lot of things happening with young people that I would like to read about, that I hear through friends, but I don't read it in the media.
Well, I give a start, and then I'll let Keith, since Keith is vice chair on the board of directors at Johnson C. Smith. But Johnson C. Smith is a gym in our backyard. It was part of the Mayor's Racial Equity Initiative. And as part of that, we raised $83 million to help them revamp some of their academic curriculums. We're not going to take away, and we don't want to take away their liberal arts background, but we also want to help them build careers of today, healthcare, business, data analytics. You go down the list where we're hiring a lot of folks. And then we're helping them through collaboration with some of the other institutions in town so that they can move a lot quicker. But we raised $83 million, to help them again to revamp, the institution.
Yeah, but the only thing that I would add is that you can provide financial capital. We all recognize that it takes money to make things happen, but also takes human capital as well. And so the business community was asked to join the board, to complement the board, to help through this transformation. And so I feel extremely honored that I was asked to join the board at JCSU, and we've got former CEOs and current CEOs that are now members of that board. I recognize the live stream, but I was asked recently, as vice chair of the board, did I want to chair the board? And I said, it's not a question of my desire. I believe it would be tremendously valuable to have an alum chair the board. We have an alum who's the chair of the board right now. They know it. They know the history, the legacy. And so it's not just what we're trying to build it, but there's something about having an alum that is the chair that I believe can be here. And if we do our jobs right, hopefully the next chair will be an alum as well. I'm extremely excited about the work that we have going underway in JCSU. We've got a great leader. It starts there. It's transformational. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. Deferred maintenance, facilities, the $83 million that Malcolm is marked, but he really led that campaign. And I'll put you on notice. $83 million, and none of that money was raised for facilities. So there's going to be another campaign. Sure, as I'm sitting here, I'm going to be asking you to come join us because these students deserve it. And in this environment, with this generation, they want to see quality food, taste quality food. They want to live in big screen televisions and things of that nature. And to get the best, you have to provide facilities that are going to be attractive for these young people because they have these phones, they see all this stuff now. So I like where we're going, the engagement on the campus, the feel of the campus, the quality, the outcome is going to be the quality of student. And what I would tell you is that 3 years ago, our summer program is primarily the way that campus recruiting now. So I'll bring in summer students. They'll work for us for 1 or 2 summers, and then we'll offer them a full-time job. My numbers have dwindled at Johnson C. Smith to 3 students, which was a clear indicator that, and I can't tell my people to hire. So this year, we're going to have over 18 students that are going to be working for us for the summer. So there's something that has already happened at JCSU, and we just have to keep this thing accelerated even more.
And just to add to Keith's point that he mentioned, I mean, we are hiring these young men and women, and I would tell you, we hired a number of them last year, and I would tell you, they perform just as good or better than where they came from Chapel Hill, NC State, UNC Wilmington, UNC Charlotte. These kids perform. And so again, they need an opportunity. They need the mentoringship. They need the sponsorship. Many of them, like me, are first generation college kids. We didn't know what it was like to be in a blue collar environment, and so a white collar environment in the business corporate world. And now we're bringing these young men and women in, and we're giving them the support and cast around them. And I would tell you, they are succeeding. They are performing.
And if I could just make one comment to your second part of your question about media and communication. We have tried to have conversations with our media partners to showcase, good stories. But I think most of us know that we've all seen our local newspaper and how big it is or how little it is now. And they're trying to sell papers. And so sensationalism, gets eyeballs, attention, and subscriptions. And so it's an uphill battle. But we're trying to encourage more profile stories and positive things to occur. But in local print, it tends to be, the disasters that we were dealing with yesterday. That's going to be all of it.
All right, we have a question from one of our online viewers. Hello, my name is Larry Swanky. I am the founder of Wingza Mambo Sauce, a food service supplier who cares deeply about the Charlotte community. We like to engage young people to teach them about entrepreneurship, show them the inner workings of small business, and give them opportunities to gain experience in various business disciplines. How can small businesses connect in the future with cohorts of programs like yours?
Well, they're welcome to call us at any time and join us. But in addition, I'd encourage them, if they don't know who to contact at CMS, they can contact us or put them in contact. One of the things that is fairly standard career days that are held at most of our schools around the country. I mentioned Who's Who. One of the other things that we do with Who's Who is that we do a high school summit each year with Who's Who. And the whole intention of that is to expose students to multiple career options, everything from medical field to finance to accounting to entrepreneurship. And like the twins, as an example, for the barbershop, they've been consistent supporters of that because they got their own story in terms of how they got into business and why they're so committed to not just the community, but to their business. So come join us. There are multiple outlets, career days, or engaging with any of the bigger companies that are here. I think if there was one message that Malcolm and I share is we as a community need to be more prosperous. We need to be in these schools. And I'm not trying to disparage any of the activity that many of you are engaged in, but we have to move beyond the episodic. It's Thanksgiving, it's the holidays. Yes, people need gifts, they need bikes, they need turkeys and food, but my life was changed because of the consistency that people, not just my family members, that people had in my life. We all know that teacher, that special teacher that just, for whatever reason, paid that special attention, may still be in your life, was your mentor, motivated you, didn't want to disappoint. And for so many of us that have done so well now, as a community, isn't it a debt that we can pay to just make an investment in the schools with students so they know your story, Malcolm Grant? And then believe that, didn't even know that I might have interest in that.
And like Keith, Ms. Cook, what grade? Sixth grade teacher, still follows Keith today. Every recognition that he has received, she is here from New York. she's come. And so to Keith's point, she's been in his life, hate to say it, 50 years now. That's the point, is having these people not in, for a moment, but for an extended period of time.
Good morning. Thank you both for being here, over here. In 5 years, what would Renaissance West look like for you to be happy? And what would Olympic High School look like for you to be happy?
Renaissance West will be one of the top performing schools in the state. That's the goal, that's the objective. And it'll become that because we have early childhood education and an active, daycare center there. We've got a community that really values education. One of my former classmates at Columbia was President. We were in the same class. And needless to say, when he became president, my prayer, my dream was that for our community, that you can ask for a better exemplar and spouse. They both went to arguably some of the best schools, college educated in the world, went on to law school. My hope was that we would have a sea change, that we'd have the tiger effect, if you will, in education. And the unfortunate thing is we haven't seen that. Despite how President Obama performed and the exemplar that he and the First Lady are for education, that education would become, or an Ivy League education didn't become, the standard. We have other communities where it's not even optional to not do well in school, or you're going to college. Now, maybe they over-index a bit in the Asian community and others. But when did we lose that? We fought to have our schools, to be educated, die for it. That's right, my 6th grade teacher comes to every significant thing in my life, in my kid's life. And she always will, because I'm gonna pay for her, because I can never repay her. Never repay her for what she did for me. When do we recapture that in our community to say that there is no finer investment in our kids and their education? That every child can learn.
How do you go after that? Olympic High School, every kid should get the same opportunities that 30 kids that's in our cohort. Every kid, whether they decide to go to a 2-year school, 4-year school, and as Keith said, that they all gotta be loved. And they all gotta get an opportunity and get the support that they need to be successful. And so whether that happens in 5 years or 10 years, that would be my dream. That every kid, and not just Olympic High School, but every school, every kid get the right mentorship, the right sponsorship, the right support, all the wraparound services, so that he or she can be the best that they can be whatever they want to be, and just give them that opportunity.
This has been a very good conversation. Thank you all. I do have a question more specifically. What you have talked about from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock seems to be a very intentional investment in the physical plant and the internal aspects during that time period. What are you thinking about, or what ways are you looking at shifting the 4 o'clock p.m. until 8 o'clock in the morning for the students, and how important do you think that is? And to that, as the last part of that question, in what ways or what measures can we tell others in the business community are following your lead? Because we know 2 institutions can't do it alone. So are others in the Charlotte business community rallying behind you, or are they just kind of patting you on the back saying, good job, that's your work?
Let me offer a response to the final question. It is a Charlotte business community response. So it's not just these 2 organizations here. If I picked on Truist as an example, Truist did a teacher development program down in Atlanta. They brought it here and they paid for it free of charge. CMS selects the the teachers and the principals that go through. And it's how we investing in the teacher and principal leadership, and Truist funds that completely. Coca-Cola, very actively engaged in many other ways. So it is the household brands out of here, all of us are engaged, including some of my competitors. Now, what was the first part of the question?
The external factors outside of the 8 to 3, how are you?
Yeah, so we were raised in with this understanding that it takes a village. And so I fundamentally believe that beyond the classroom, it's the nonprofits and the other community organizations that are actively engaged. So to answer your question, I believe it's tremendously important that beyond 3 p.m., during the summer months, that we have activities, learning opportunities for our youth. And in many cases, we try to partner with some of our nonprofit organizations, the city as an example. All of us have been fully funding the city's youth employment program. Most of us, if not all of us, we bring those students into our workspace because although they live here in Charlotte, in some cases they haven't been in Uptown, they haven't been on an elevator that takes them to the 60th floor. We want them to see Charlotte, their city, from that view and spend some time to learn my story and why education is so important. And if I can, just one other thing that I want to mention very, very quickly on this absenteeism issue. My Brother's Keeper, locally, we were the first My Brother's Keeper chapter, Obama's initiative, to actually receive their 501c3. Now, one of the things that My Brother's Keeper is doing is on the absentee issue is actually doing door knocks. So it's been very informative for me. Because you could say, you might have the point of view that parents are lazy or they're just not focused on education. You'd be surprised, at least I've been surprised with the number of responses that we're receiving when they knock on that door looking for that 12th grader who's supposed to be graduating, and they've been chronically absent, that there are 3 other kids in that household, moms have worked, and they're serving as daycare.
That's right.
So in partnership with these community organizations, these grassroots organizations who are really on the ground to truly understand the breadth and depth of the issues that we're dealing with is critically important, and we can't do that.
And just to add, as Keith mentioned, this entire business community is engaged in this. Both Keith and I chair the Charlotte Business Alliance, which is the chamber, the voice of business. And I would tell you, as companies begin to look into Charlotte, one thing they ask for is about the education system. And so we're committed because we want to continue to grow in a respectful way, the community, and we need to make sure we have an education system that's fair and equitable for all.
Okay, Mark, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Marcus touched on my question, which was after school, but I'll just add to it and say that I am a retiree after 33 years, and I spent teaching, and I was also a curriculum specialist. But I wanted to say that when I was growing up, we walked to school. We passed by teachers' houses. And we knew the teachers because they went to our church, they were at the grocery store. They also, in walking home, we walked right by the principal's house, and his wife was the piano teacher for most of the students, private piano teacher. So I'm just saying that piece, the relationship piece, is what's missing, because you have to go home at the end of what you do. So I know you really can't answer this question, I guess, but the problem is, how do we build these relationships with students? African American students, they thrive on relationships. So,
Well, I'll respond this way. CMS clearly recognizes that with this shortage of nursing and administrators, and we're not producing enough educators in our state, which means that we have to recruit folks to move to our state. And we all recognize that housing costs continues to increase. And so my response to you is that I recognize as a banker that I've got an obligation to try to provide solutions to make it affordable and attractive for someone from New York, let's say, to relocate and continue practicing the profession of education here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. Because of the exposure that we have received, I think CMS is doing a pretty good job of trying to attract, but we've been disappointed as we get ready for the start of the school year that some of the teachers are reneging on their agreement because they can't find affordable housing. So these are complicated issues, but it's an issue that we recognize that we have to play a role in financial services to provide alternatives for what I'll just call our hometown heroes, whether they're teachers, police officers, firefighters, who may not be making, $200,000 a year, but housing costs are increasing. What are the options to ensure that they can live in the neighborhoods and see students and be present? We don't have all the answers, but it's something that is clearly very important to us at Bank of America and really across the industry.
We have one of our youngest attendees here, and what I like to do is give him an opportunity to ask his question, and he's a regular with us. In addition to that, we have been offered the opportunity to stay in this room all day. So I'm asking you gentlemen, I got some more people that have questions. And if you have time, if you can stay to answer we like to recognize everybody. But after him, it's gonna be almost 10 o'clock. And you feel free to stay if they agree to answer the questions for these people. So, and this is unusual. We usually end at 10 o'clock. So I'm asking you all if you will allow the other 4 that we have on this list to ask their questions in 30 seconds or less, and you give them a minute to answer. So our young man here has been coming for 3 or 4 years, and he's 26 now.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to ask, with like the increase in wealth inequality and like the depletion of the middle class, and like where the wealth, why should students feel invested to, as far as like go to a 4-year college or feel invested in CMS instead of like spending 4 years to like pursue influencer or anything else?
I'll give it a shot. Most of our young people graduate from high school or coming out of high school at 17, 18 years of age. You'll have the rest of your life to work. Why not take 4 years, grow, learn, have fun? My college experience, I met my wife in college. So I can't imagine what my life would be like if I hadn't went to college, to be quite honest with you. So I have my boys in high school, but in all honesty, my closest friends are my college teammates and classmates. So now, I will be the first to admit that maybe 4-year college isn't for everybody. And going to a trade school, going to a community college may be the best alternative, or going directly into work may be the best alternative. I'm just sharing my experience. I don't know what my life would have been like if I hadn't gone to college and been exposed to. I'll give you an example. When I left high school on Long Island.
Okay, we're gonna.
Okay.
Okay. Let me ask you this. I know you're asking him. Can you all stay a little longer?
Just for question.
Okay.
Can you stay for?
Can you stay a little longer for us?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we have Nick Alexander, who will be next. Then we have Richard Hooker next, and Joanne, who's over here. And we're gonna end it with Ken Coons. Oh, Gary. Gary. And we're going with Ken. Okay, so. Carly, I'm sorry. Okay, but we're gonna get all the questions asked. Okay, so at this point, we're gonna give Mick an opportunity to ask her question because she said her name's not on the list. And then you, Gary. Okay.
Thank you. I'll keep it short. I'm Nick Alexander. I actually am here today in the mindset of the International Society for Emotional Intelligence. I'm an emotional intelligence trainer and coach. And we've heard a lot today about career readiness, but I haven't heard very much about emotional intelligence education. And there is a lot of data to support that success, a big part of success is emotional intelligence training. So my question is, do you have any initiatives or are you aware of any initiatives to bring more EI training into the school system and to the parents?
Well, I'm not, I don't know, Keith, if you are, but I would agree that emotional intelligence is very important. I mean, these kids are being bombarded with so many different things, and the pressure on these kids today versus when we were in school is tremendous. So I do believe that we have to have the services to support these kids. Whether it's in K through 12, whether, I mean, you see what's going on in the college and university. Both Keith and I, we sit on boards of trustees, and I'll tell you, there's nothing worse than the president or the chancellor coming to us because we lost a kid. The parents give us their most precious asset for us to take care of. And so not only do we have to educate them, but we need to look at their emotional well-being. So I totally agree. And the pace of things now in K through 12 or whether it's in college is so fast that we got to make sure that these kids are emotionally and mentally supported.
Well, now you have a contact.
Okay, that's it.
I'm not a clinician, but I'd offer this. In the clinics, in the 60 schools that Atrium provides services, that's physical care as well as emotional care. And so, looking at the data, I do know that what I'm told by the clinicians is that they've never seen depression and anxiety at these young ages that they're experiencing from the experience that the services they provide in CMS. So I think, yes, we do have a problem. Things have totally changed. And the final thing that I just offer is that here in our state, I've learned that Atrium can provide services in upper school and middle schools, but it cannot provide emotional care in our elementary schools. That's state law. So when we start thinking about public policy and how we're going to support our youth, it may be something that we need to be more vocal about to see if a change needs to occur.
This one. Alright. Know you guys well, man. So thank you for all you do in the community, like supporting the great event that Brother Winston brought to Charlotte this past weekend with over 5,000. But can you speak on some of the creative ways that your Supply Diversity is working with CMS to create opportunities for business or create pathways from a career standpoint for students?
He's pointing to me. But the one thing I would say is outside of my day job at EY, we are an owner of RJ Leeper Construction Company, and we're working with as the program manager along with two other partners to ensure that there's equity in how those opportunities are allocated throughout the community, and not just with CMS, but with the county and with the city. And in companies. And so as we lead different projects, we are ensuring that that there's equity throughout. One of the projects we're doing, and we have a great partner at Advocate Health Atrium, Gene Woods is so committed in making sure that there is equity in the allocation of how those projects are allocated from a diversity standpoint. And it's not just about ensuring that they participate, but how do we help them grow and scale? How do we help them build skill sets that they don't have? And then even with EY, we're doing work with the city, and we're taking small minority-owned companies, and we're helping them scale by teaching them what we know. And the goal is for them one day to be competing against us. We want them to compete against us and win.
Good morning. My name is Richard Hooker. I'm from Cleveland County and a former school board member. And I have a question. Well, let me say that they say that a genius is one who can conceal his resources. And I was very intrigued and curious about your BEST program directed to Malcolm and wanted to know if that a concept, is that a program that's transferable or can be replicated?
No, I think it is transferable. I think it can be replicated. Again, it just took a number of African American men, the 100 Black Men of Atlanta, in partnership with the Atlanta Public School System. We built the BEST Academy, and then the commitment. And that's probably been 14, 15 years. And we are in the schools with those young men and women in Atlanta. Well, not women, but young men in Atlanta. And so, 100% graduation rate. I mean, these kids are doing well. One of the things, and they wear uniforms. So, because one of the things we found, if they wear uniforms, they're not picking up other kids about what they wear and what they're not wearing. And then just having man presence, role models that can sit down in the cafeteria, in the classroom, and speak to these young men has went a long way. But yes, I think you can replicate it.
Good morning.
Good morning. I want to say a lot of things, but I can't because I know Mary and Laura will say something. But anyway, thank you so much for taking time to come. But Chief, both you and Malcolm have a lot of programs and things that you do for CMS that I as an employee have no clue about and want to know more about. So I ask that you go back to your office and sit down with one of your individuals and please let us know what they are so we can share them with the employees. They need to know. One of the programs you're talking about, Keith, Meaningful Medicine, is not only in the 60 schools, you have provided funds for it to be in McCory White and other places in the city. So thank you for that. My question, I don't have a question, but anyway, I want to say, Malcolm Coley who is with EY, heads 2024 class of honorees in the Charlotte Business Journal, Most Admired CEO. He will be getting that award at the Weston later.
That's Canty, Ivory Canty. She's one of our facilitators, and she is one that comes on a regular basis, and she was allowed to request those. Give her that opportunity. Thank you, privilege to request what she wants to request. So, just as a word of point, I can say that. Or, okay.
Okay, wait.
Okay.
Yeah, just one of the programs or initiatives that we have is, again, it's called our MAP program. The graduation date is May 22nd at 6 o'clock. And I can give someone the address. It's at our South End location. And I'm telling you, if you want to see something really beautiful, come and watch these kids because their contract is not only with us and the kids, it's with their parents. When they come in and they graduate and they tell you where they're going, what they're going to do next. And they tell you about the experience that they've had the last 2 years with a mentor from someone in my office. I invite all of you. We'll have a nice dinner, but I would invite any of you who wants to come and celebrate with these young men and women.
If you just say the address, Steve will get it. He'll make sure it goes out as an announcement. You know the address?
1422 South Tryon.
And at what time?
6 o'clock.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joanne Rogers. First of all, I'd like to say thank you. I did not know anything about this, and I will be here regularly. Thank you very much for providing this service. I've already learned a lot. How do I know? Well, I have some friends here that are attending, and they brought me here with them. So, but you'll see me regularly for sure. I know a lot of the people in here, know and respect many of the people doing stuff in the community. I'm going to read what I wrote because I will get passionate and talk about a whole lot of stuff and be cut off. So let me read this really quick. My name is Joanne Rogers. I am a founder of the Visual and Performing Arts Center. We use arts to serve the community. Okay, so yeah, the Papa Center. But prior to that, I built many businesses using my own money to get to this point before we were recognized and given this opportunity to serve our community. I call myself an artist advocate because I believe in the value of the artists and what they bring to our community, and I'm committed to getting a sustainable income for the artists so they can continue to give us their gift and serve the community. I'm at a point.
You need to ask your question. You're over time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm at a point where my income my growth has surpassed my ability to support it with my income. And I'm finding it hard to get funding from organizations, from corporate at the beginning stages of building a business when the income is most needed, the funding is most needed. How do you decide who to support? And who do we need to see to make that request for that funding?
Is your business for profit or
Nonprofit.
Nonprofit. Grant request, so you can just follow with me a little bit later.
Okay.
We're very active in the arts and a lot of work has been going on in terms of arts funding.
And that was probably the second major request when we have companies looking to move here, when we were both chair of the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance, is do we have a vibrant art community, arts and science community? So, because people love to not only work, but where they live, but also a place to play.
Oh, it's on me? Oh, okay. I've been around since '69, is what I consider myself a chronicler of the times. Not a mover, not a shaker. I'll tell you what's going on, you decide for yourself. And I've probably seen so much, and I'd just like to give these two men other mentions from Atrium. There's never been the kind of dedicated, committed, and impactful and empathetic interest and concern in our education of our youth like these men reflect and have taken it upon themselves to do. So for that, these gentlemen and the others like them, because prior to this, the folk we begged for stuff didn't look like them, and they only gave us token responses. But we're getting dedicated, committed, impactful, experienced commitment from these men that I think they deserve applause. And the one that just asked me my question has a GED, but he's one of the most brilliant people I know. Okay, my question to you is, can I have 10 minutes after this with you, because you struck a nerve when you mentioned Johnson C. Smith University. But my overall feeling is that, or ask is, do you find many teachers with the purpose, passion, and community fit that you suggest we need in those classrooms? And overall, do you find our school superintendent, and I'm asking you to throw under the bus, but I'm giving you a bonus question to praise. Do you consider our school superintendent as the Dawn State of education?
I am a huge fan of Dr. Hill and thrilled that she has decided to lead our community here. And I won't speak for the entire business community, but from a Bank of America perspective, we're excited about her leadership and what she has done and the impact that she's had. Love her passion. I haven't been to all the schools in our school district, but the ones that we are actively engaged in, I'm going to respond to your question this way. I recognize that I don't have to sell educators or principals on, we need different outcomes. They want it as badly as I do. And what I've really been pleased with is the level of commitment quite candidly, that I'm seeing. And I'm trying to do everything that I possibly can to enable it, so they can do their best work. So I've been most impressed with our educators and trying to provide more capability for them. For instance, West came to us and said, hey, can we have t-shirts? And we want to celebrate major milestones. And we said, t-shirts? How many times are you going to celebrate? I don't know how t-shirts can last. They didn't even know to ask us. And so we said, how about polo shirts? And we'll put all the teachers on the first day of school in polo shirts. Yeah. And if you're going to use it for an entire school year, maybe we need 2 polo shirts. Now, like as an example, our Principal Thompson, he came to me and said, hey, I got teacher appreciation is next week. Keith, I want to have a luncheon because of the success that we've had. I'm paying for that. He ain't afraid to ask anymore. And so what we've done, I think that has worked really, really well, is that I've got a dedicated volunteer who coordinates all of our volunteer activity. He doesn't always come to us asking for money, but it may be just time or to talk to a parent. They don't need to call me. They know they've got a dedicated volunteer from Bank of America. They call Cookie, and Cookie has one sole job: do whatever Dr. Principal Thompson needs to continue with that school forward.
And last year, the celebration was at Keith's house. He busted off to his house.
And so, no, I agree with Key. I think Dr. Gill, I mean, she's, her vision is big and it's bold. And she met with the business community before she got the role. And her vision was big and bold. And so I think she is the right person at the right moment and at the right time. And I would just say we all need to continue to rally behind her. Because again, those are all of our kids. They may not come to our house, they're our kids, and she is the right leader. And we have a lot of support and confidence in her.
Let's give them a round of applause. We do have announcements, so you might want to hear some of our announcements as well. But we like to say, please come back to the Tuesday Forum. And we have the Black Alliance here, Marcus Bass, who is over the Black Alliance here in the state of North Carolina. And he's brought people in across from North Carolina to just, it couldn't have been a better presentation, and we couldn't have had a better crowd to share with them what we do here at Tuesday Morning Forum. So what I'd like to do is just start taking announcements. So y'all just be still for just a minute, even though you can read them online. We just like for you to, we like for you to, Mary. Oh. Okay.
Oh, my name is Carl Nelson. I'm here from New York, and I just want to make an announcement. I was invited here to look at an event that Ray High is going to be doing in October. It's called the Multicultural Arts Festival. So I came down the last time I was here, and I checked. First time in North Carolina, but this is my second time here. But I came back to make an announcement because when I was here the last time, I saw this huge crown, and I was told this crown was Queen Charlotte's crown, and that's why Charlotte was named Charlotte. So when I went back to New York, I spoke to a friend of mine, and I was telling her I was in Charlotte, and I saw this crown of Queen Charlotte. She said, "Oh, that's a relative of mine from my German side." So she told me all about Queen Charlotte, and then she said, and so I said, "Well, would you like to come and be the chair of our event in North Carolina?" And she said, "Absolutely." So my friend has been a friend of mine for like over 25 years. She happens to be the niece of Queen Elizabeth and the cousin of King Charles. She is Her Royal Highness Princess Catherine. And so will be coming here in October to chair the event for us. So I just want to mention that.
And we do have a Carolinian here with us this morning that's looking at what possibly doing a forum in South Carolina. Mary, did you want to share?
Good morning, everyone. I am Mary Peeler. I am the former Executive Director of the North Carolina NAACP, as well as the National Director of Voter Empowerment for the NAACP. I now reside back in my hometown of Gaffney, South Carolina, and we are looking at possibly bringing the forum to that area as well.
I wanted to announce or ask, anyone who was at the Great West Side Fish Fry last week? Oh, and we had a wonderful time. It was just everything that Winston said it was gonna be and more, okay? And what I've done, and Winston does this on a regular basis, he has these big events like this, and they're mostly educational in addition to having a good time. It's fun and educational. But because I am really into the legislature and politics and things like that, I've asked Winston to do this, and let's have a focus on getting out the vote, getting people registered, talking about voter education, voter engagement. And just to think that he had 5,000 people there on Saturday. Think what would have happened if those 5,000 people had voted. We would have Sheree Beasley. We would have, I mean, I could just name, we could have, well, he hadn't got it in yet, but, we could have so many, we could have the Leandro case settled. So, we can talk about it, but until we put the right people in Raleigh, it's not gonna happen, okay? So that's what our goal is to get these people out to vote.
And if I can just add to that, I would tell you, it is so important that we get out and exercise our right to vote. I mean, you think about these people setting policy that's gonna affect our kids and our grandkids. We have to get out. It takes you 15 minutes to get to, we have to get our young people out. And I know there's a lot of issues out there between the choices, but to me, the choices start, it's clear. Get out and get people out and make votes, get your votes, because policy's been set.
We have another young person here, Jasmine Wright, who has really worked with the Black Alliance and pulled and a lot of what's going on today together for us. And I just want to introduce her to this group because you all will be looking to use her in the future because she makes it happen. So Jasmine, would you share with them?
It'll be quick, I promise you. I just wanted to remind and let you all know, we do have some chicken minis in the back, we'd like for you all to take care of it. Also, for some of the folks who've been coming to this forum for a long time, I've touched some of you individually, but we would love if you can give us at least 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes of your time. We would love for our folks who are visiting to hear from you directly as people who've been attending the forum. So if you could give me some of your time after the forum, that would be amazing as well. And to my folks who are a part of the facilitating circle, you'll get some more of your time following that panel. Thank you all again for coming today. This was an amazing turnout. You all are showing these folks who are not from here what the possibilities could look like for their counties, and I appreciate it. Again, it's feedback.
Another announcement. I wanted to say, in fairness to Winston, I want to make sure Winston gets credit. There was someone at the event registering people the entire day. So he was doing the voter registration at his event. But I do want to give credit to our group. As you've heard, there are people here observing us because they want to duplicate what we do. And I must say that although we appreciate that, all of the accolades really need to go to Sarah Stevenson, because remember, this is her forum. Not, she wasn't the founder, but she was the main founder and the one that kept it going. Everything we do was the way that Sarah set it up to be. So the forum runs very well, and we have to give that credit to our dear Sarah Stevens.
Hi, my name is Tanya Lewis, and one of my many hats says the Minority Affairs Chair for 14th Congressional District for the North Carolina Democratic Party. And I wanted to share with you the fact that the Democratic Party, as well as the Biden-Harris campaign, is very much interested in reaching out into the community for hiring for positions that are very important. This is kind of like a breakthrough. And as you all know, many times we have people coming from the outside to handle these campaigns, and kind of piggybacking on the other issue. What is very, very clear to the North Carolina Democratic Party and the Biden-Harris reelection campaign is that if we do not exceed our goals in Mecklenburg County for the African-American voter turnout, we will lose.
Yes.
We will lose. North Carolina will not be in the Biden-Harris campaign column, and we will lose our statewide offices, including Mo Green, which would be a disaster. So the key vacancies here in the Mecklenburg County Democratic Party, it is six-figure salary, is an executive director position. You can find that information on the Mecklenburg County Democratic Party website. And if you need any more information, you can see me directly and I will help you with that. With regard to the Biden-Harris campaign, they again are very clear that they understand that you cannot win anything in North Carolina without Mecklenburg County and that current non-voter Black voter turning out, we cannot win. We lost the Supreme Court for that reason. So the Republican Party is not even putting any more money in the state of North Carolina because they feel that it's a non-issue around Mecklenburg County specifically. And so all of those jobs can be found on the North Carolina Democratic Party.org website. So I encourage you to go to the websites and distribute that information. Thank you.
I just wanted to mention that one of the people that I was coming with me today is the youngest person to ever head a Democratic Party in the United States. And she happens to be from North Carolina. Her name is Anderson Clay.
Yeah.
So you guys should. She was coming here today, but she's traveling with Vice President. So I just wanted to mention that she was supporting what you said.
She's amazing.
Ken, I just want to, as I mentioned earlier, I've been a chronicler over times, and historic accuracy is one of my things. While Sarah Stevenson was extremely effective in carrying on the Tuesday Forum, she was not a founder, but she did outlive the founders, and she did carry on a primary role of being sure that this forum carried on. So don't leave this room thinking that she founded it. She did not. She just outlived the founders and had a very prominent role.
Okay, all right. Let's leave happy. Have some sweets and some peanuts.